The challenge in front of them is always overwhelming. Having trekked all the way down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, the Headings family warily contemplate the daunting climb back up. They know in their hearts that they can't give up. As the party spanning 3 generations begins the long return journey, which will see them ascend more than 4,300 feet, the end of their epic adventure is in sight. For this family, however, it's been no ordinary hike. Before 2005, grandfather Bob Headings lived a fit and active life. He enjoyed spending time in the great outdoors and once completed the difficult trek through the Grand Canyon with a friend. He and his wife Lucille raised 3 sons in Madison County, Ohio: Roger, Randy, and Rick, with whom Bob runs a construction company. The Headings worked hard to instill good family values in their children, a practice that would serve them well later in life. Tragedy, though, struck just over a decade ago. Bob was working on the roof of Rick's house when he tumbled and fell to the ground, breaking 17 ribs, 2 vertebrae, and puncturing a lung. Doctors said he'd never be able to walk. His family, which grew to include 13 grandchildren, were worried that Bob's paralysis could damage his mental health. "We knew Dad was tough," Roger told the Columbus Dispatch, "but we knew he loved his work so much and we didn't know what this would do to him." Bob, who'd worked in carpentry and construction since the 1960s, now had to adjust to a very different life. But his main concern was for Lucille, who became his caregiver after the accident. "He was worried about me and what it was going to do to me," she explained in a documentary called "I Can't Believe We Just Did That." "I said, hey, we're in this together." The family worked hard to help Bob live as much of a normal life as possible. Ensuring that his home and workshop were wheelchair accessible allowed the grandfather to remain positive and upbeat. 9 years after the accident, Randy sent his dad some photos of a vacation he was enjoying at the Grand Canyon with his young sons. Bob said that he'd quite like to return there, and so an idea was set in motion. When Randy returned home, he began researching how to make Bob's wish become a reality. He discovered a Canadian organization that manufactured the Trail Rider, a single-wheeled chair that allowed people with mobility problems to explore the outdoors. Randy phoned his dad to pitch the idea, and almost immediately, his mind was made up. "When he mentioned it, I didn't hesitate," Bob recalled in "I Can't Believe We Just Did That." "I said, I'm ready to go." Bob may have been enthusiastic, but there was plenty of preparation work to be done. Bleacher steps and state parks became the sons and grandsons' training grounds, while Bob joined in by losing more than 20 pounds. It was decided that the adventure would be undertaken by only the men and boys in the family. Bob, Roger, Randy, and Rick, plus 8 grandsons aged between 9 and 20, made a formidable team. Together, they planned a route that followed in the footsteps of Bob's original journey with his friend. They would hike down the South Kaibab Trail, which follows the ridgeline down to the canyon floor, before ascending via the 4,380-foot-high Bright Angel Trail. On March 29, 2015, the Headings family were finally ready. With his sons and older grandsons taking turns lifting and steering the trail rider, and the younger children carrying packs crammed with equipment, Bob began his descent down the canyon. "I never expected it to be that hard," grandson Tyler, who soon became worried about the ascent, said during "I Can't Believe We Just Did That." "I kept looking back and just thinking, there's no way we're going back up that." 6 hours after setting off, the family team arrived at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. They spent the night and the next day resting and preparing. And then at 6:45 a.m. on March 31st, they headed back out for their toughest challenge yet. This was when the family really pulled together. To help Bob up the trail, a special harness, which Randy had designed himself, was used on the trail rider. It allowed up to 4 people at a time to pull the off-road wheelchair, which meant that even 10-year-old Michael could help. 11 hours later, the exhausted team finally reached the top, where they were welcomed with gusto by Lucille and a crowd of onlookers. This is an experience that Bob and his family will certainly never forget.